Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Today we're going to talk about how to handle decisions without being worn out. Recently I had to change where my office is. I couldn't believe how much it was wearing me out dealing with that. And I started to think, you know, what's going on with this? And it took some time to process what I was feeling because I kept feeling more and more tired. I'd be reorganizing my office, shuffling boxes around, placing things. And by like 6 o'clock, I was toast. I couldn't believe just how toast I was. And what I realized was that, oh dear, jeez, that's gonna be a problem. Damn. And what I realized was that the decision-making process was totally swamping me. I couldn't believe the impact it had on me. Now, I've worked as an engineer for 20 years. So every day I had to make a decision on figuring out what to do and how to operate. I had challenges when I first begun. As a young engineer coming straight out of school, you think, oh yeah, I've got my degree, I'm super smart. No. I quickly learned just how much I didn't know. And that process left me worn out coming home every day for probably a couple months. I'd gone to school, took like 5.5 years to complete a bachelor's of science degree in electrical engineering. I got used to that process. But when I went somewhere new, even though I was working as an intern there, when I got converted over to regular work, gosh, dang, it kicked my backside. I just couldn't believe it. And so I started to think back to then when I had to move my office. Now, obviously you can't see my office because I'm in front of a magic screen here, but it's looking much better. It's much less stressful, but man, I couldn't believe how much it took out of me. And I, as a motivational speaker and as a polar explorer, I had to think about, where can I learn the lesson here? Because anything that bothers you, you can say, oh, this is terrible, and get nothing out of it. Or you can say, hey, wait a minute, something's happened. Maybe I need to reevaluate my thinking and what I'm doing. Sure enough, so I started pondering as I was shuffling things around and getting worn out. And there's a couple of factors that I figured out. One was the emotional content of shuffling objects around. One of the hard things about moving yourself is that everything you touch in your world and in your life has some emotion attached to it. When you're shuffling through pictures and books and boxes, why is it so hard for you to move your own things, but why is it so easy to have a couple friends come over, just load some boxes, tape them up, and boom, you're gone? Because they don't have any emotional content in the objects that they're handling, but you do. So when you're shuffling and moving and boxing, everything you touch causes a memory to happen, and it triggers something in your head saying, oh yeah, I remember when, yeah. Your brain actually gets pretty tired about that, or gets tired from that. So every time you create the, oh, remember when, it's fun to do it when you're sitting around chatting with drinks with friends, but man, when you have to actually not just chat, but do something and make a decision about an object, it kicks your backside. And so what I quickly figured out is that one, the emotional content of objects is really, really tough to deal with. Now, if you've got some great friends, I mean, moving is just stinks. I would use other words, but I'm trying to keep it to a family channel here. But if you can have somebody, let's say you're with your family and you're not going to throw anything away, think about it this way. What if you had everybody in your family, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, spouse, kids, dog, not the dog, You pack their things and they pack yours. How quickly do you think things would get sorted out? Now, you got to make a rule. There can't be any decisions made. Whatever that person's decision is, they simply go do it, and then it's in a box and it's labeled, and then that's it. You would be amazed how much faster things get done. So that's this one little secret about not being worn out from the decision-making process, is have somebody else help you do that. Now, is it to say hoist off your decisions on somebody else? No, no, no. That doesn't work. But the other thing is to create automation. What? Automation? Doesn't that sound like some robot thing? No, no, no. Totally not. The reason you get worn out from having to make decisions about packing and objects, I'm looking around in my office like, oh, I gotta pack my National Geographic book, and I need to pack my copy of the Diary of a Dude Wrangler, and I need to pack my copy of How to Get Happily Published. That actually happens pretty quick, because when you look at the books, you can say, hey, okay, I could just throw these in a box. You don't have to think about it. But when you get to more complex things like, hey, here's my camera bag. Ooh, yeah, I need to pack that, but wait, I don't want my camera bag to get crushed. I don't want my camera bag to get stolen. I don't want it to get damaged. I don't want it to get wet or whatever. Ooh, now I've got to make a decision about this. Where do I put it? How do I put it in a box? Where should it be packed? Should it be in my vehicle or the moving truck? You get the idea. And that's for one object. Just think of the hundreds, if not thousands of objects in your life that you have to make decisions about. Now, let's make the giant leap forward. Not like Chairman Mao's giant leap because he killed like 30 million people. We're not doing that. No, no, no. Instead, think about all the things that are in your home and the clutter and things that you got going on. Those things all require you to make decisions. Does anybody have a junk drawer where you just toss the things in and you don't decide? It's actually kind of handy, but that every time you open those things, it always makes you stress out. There's no way to automate that process. There's no way for me to automate thinking, where should I put my camera bag for it to be the safest? Should I put it in a tote? Should I put it in a bag? Stand it up, lay it down, zip it. I don't know. That's what kills you. So one of the things that when you're just operating generally in your life, anything that you can get automated is super spectacular because it helps save energy. See, humans are really good when we have to operate without thinking. When was the last time you had to think actively about walking left, right? Unless you're handicapped, disabled, or crossing a freeway, you probably don't have to think about walking. That doesn't wear you out. But when you were like, I don't know, 7 months old to 15 months old, when you're learning to walk, you had to think about that all the time. It was tough, frustrating. Now, none of us generally probably remembers about that. But remember when you're studying, I don't know, algebra in school? Bang my head with a hammer! Because you're learning something new. You're having to do something that you can't automate and do the actions of. But once you got through the challenge and you started to learn the techniques and tricks, very soon, oh yeah, I can do this and do that. And then it becomes a little more automatic. And then you engage a different part of your brain where it goes into, I don't know, or somewhere inside here, it goes into the automatic operator mode. And then, easy sailing. As an adult, if you've driven for a few years, when was the last time you had to think about pressing the gas pedal versus pressing the brake? Probably not since the first 6 months to a year when you started driving. You don't even think about that. Do you remember when you first drove? How exhilarating, scary, and stressful and white knuckle the experience was, and yet you looked at over at other drivers, you looked at your parents and they're driving with their knee. I can't really show my knee on the video, and they weren't even thinking about it. And here you're like, man, how do people deal with this? This is insane. Because they'd done it enough to where it became automatic in their head. The reticular activating system filtered out all the general noise, and then your system went into muscle memory. Now, Is there any muscle memory for like handling a Joby GorillaPod? No, I don't know where to put this thing. But when you're planning to do things and you're starting to get overwhelmed, you have to make decisions about this and that, think, okay, this is too tough. What can I automate in what's going on in my life so I don't have to think about this? Really, you got to think about not thinking. Is that totally whacked? There's a psychologist I know, Dr. Paul Jenkins. He talks about thinking, metacognition. It's like a total mind bender, but humans actually have the ability to think about their thinking. So when you're getting worn out and I'm having to make these decisions and you're getting ticked off and you're arguing with your spouse, you're yelling at your kids, take a step back for a moment and think, well, wait a minute. Why am I getting so irritable? Am I having to make decisions about my 401k, my health insurance, my job, where I'm living? I had to move offices. I had to make a decision. Man, that wore me out. And I made the failure. I have to admit, making the mistake of I didn't think ahead to think about, okay, when I'm going to do these things, where should I put them so I don't have to think about them when I'm actually doing them. Now, this thinking about thinking and talking about it can be really wearing. But if you put some planning into the vision of what you're going to do, where you're going to put things, and at least get an idea, when you show up to the game, you already have a plan. It's just like practice. Do you just show up and play a Federer at tennis? Probably not. You might need some practice. He might, like, I don't know, smoke you, or Murphy, or whoever. Or are you going to go up against Tom Brady in football without maybe a little bit of practice? Or are you going to go in a head-to-head chess match against Gary Kasparov without some practice? No. Practice thinking about what you're going to do, so when you got to make the decisions about a ton of stuff, like, okay, tell yourself, I'm not going to bother thinking about this. I'm just going to get packed, get it boxed up, tape that sucker, write a label, and boom. And all of a sudden, I mean, you got to move your whole life. You got to move your whole house. You got to do whatever it is you have to do at work or with your family. You might as well just throw it in the box and tape it up, because you got to transport that sucker to wherever you got to go anyway. It doesn't matter. Unless you're going to throw it away and things aren't breakable, just jam it in there, tape it up, and off. And then all of a sudden, it becomes way less wearing. And clutter is killer. So this whole how to not be worn out about doing things and thinking about things, 2 tricks. 1, try and divorce yourself from the emotional content of touching the book. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember writing this thing. It took me forever. Maybe I should read a couple pages when you've got like 1,000 things to do. It's so easy to diddle. But instead, decide, nope, just toss it in, tape. Don't think. Get the operation automated as much as you can. And then all of a sudden it'll be freeing, and you'll get through things much, much quicker, and you'll be way less worn out. Take it from me as a polar explorer, it is definitely a way to go. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I am a polar explorer motivational speaker. I am here to keep you motivated, to give you ideas about your life that you might be able to think and reduce your stress, cut the being worn out, and generally improve your life. Please like and comment on my video. Subscribe to the channel. Please promote me and support me on PayPal, Venmo, and where are we today? PayPal, Venmo, and Patreon. Yes, we're on Patreon. Please check out the links below in the text. Click on there if you could kick me something. I would totally appreciate it. It makes life better, and it makes it easier for me to bring this material to you. Thank you very much, and keep the vision.